Hey folks, my name is Brian from the YouTube channel Survival on Purpose, and this is going to be a quick video about how I build a fire and some things that I've learned since I was a Boy Scout in the early 1970s that have helped me in my fire building, and hopefully they'll help you. So I'd like to thank JJ from Reality Survival for inviting me over, and JJ, I really appreciate it. Everybody, I hope this helps. So let's get started. What I thought I would do today is just kind of show you some things that I always look for when I'm getting ready to build a fire. Several choices in here. There's a lot of resources right here in this area, and I'm going to take the camera mobile here, so pardon the shakiness, but go ahead and show you some things that I think are important. Okay, so one of the first things I always look for when I build a fire is some really tiny little sticks like this. You know, when I was a Boy Scout, the big challenge was to build a fire with one match, and one of the things you're going to need is some really small dry sticks. And what you want, and I'm going to put this up next to the microphone, which is down here so you can hear this, but you want this thing to snap. I don't know if you can even hear it. Let's try. Probably not. But you want it to snap very dryly. And maybe you heard that one. So you want to get as many of these little sticks as you can get. Okay, you can look for wood that's fallen, but you want to try to get wood that's suspended up in the air, that's not laying on the ground. So you can see this is still really dry, snaps really good. So this would be some good wood. You just want to be careful. You don't want to get wood that's been laying right on the ground, because it's very likely to have absorbed moisture. But you can hear how that snaps. So that's good. What I found is easier to do if you find a big dead limb like this limb here. Just break the whole thing off and carry it back with you to where you're going to build a fire. That way you're not trying to do all this processing here and carrying this, you know, taking all this time. But you can see now I've got a whole bunch of little ones, and I don't have to spend all this time picking them up and carrying them. I can take them back to the fire and go ahead and prepare them there. Okay, another great resource that you might find in your area is a cedar tree. And you can see cedar tree's got this bark, and I'll do a close-up here in a minute. It kind of flakes off, and it's kind of an evergreen, so you can always tell. A lot of times you'll find these things that are rubbed off, the bark's rubbed off where deer rub to shed the velvet off their antlers. Let me give you a close-up here and show you what this bark looks like, and I'll show you what's so great about it. Okay, now this is a small cedar tree. They get, you know, pretty big, but you see this bark peels off like that? And very dry, makes very good tinder, burns really good. If you get a bigger tree, sometimes you can get a lot bigger pieces of bark off, but this is going to be pretty handy right here. And you just want to go up and get as much of this as you can. It's going to be really good for getting your initial fire started, and just really good tinder. So just grab some of this stuff up, and even if you're not planning on building a fire and you happen to walk through the woods and you see a cedar tree, I always take a minute and just get some bark. So that's a little start. We'll get some more and be back with you in a minute. Okay, sorry about the shaky camera here, but I want to show you, this is one of my favorite fire resources. And you look at this, this is a tulip poplar. And if you look at the leaves, let me just break one off. This one's had better days. So this is what the tulip poplar leaves look like. This whole tree is dead, so that'd be a great fire resource if we wanted to cut it down. But luckily we don't have to, because right there is another tulip poplar that has blown down. So it's dead, it's off the ground, it's going to be really dry, but you can also see it's got some bark hanging off of it. What we're going to do is take a look at that and show you why I like it so much. So I'm going to pick this thing up, drag it back. Let's see if we can get it. Sorry. We're going to just strip this bark off here. It just comes off in strips. It's really cool. So get a bunch of this bark up. We're going to use this to help start our fire. Okay, no, I'm not going to lay here and go to sleep. I just wanted to get down in the camera because I pulled it back where you could see. But one of the tools I like to have with me in the woods is a folding saw. So I can cut up some wood with a folding saw and use it to help me with the fire. So this poplar is really dry and dead. It's been suspended off the ground. So what I want to do is go ahead and cut a piece of it. Oh, maybe, you know, 15 inches long, 18 inches long, something like that. So a good sharp folding saw really does a great job. Okay, one technique you can use, especially if it's been raining, to get some dry wood, it's called batoning. Basically it's using your knife and a baton, which is something you banging your knife through a piece of wood to split it. You don't always have to do that. It's kind of showing you some different techniques. We're going to blend them all together and create kind of a Heinz 57 kind of fire video here. So got a really solid dry piece of poplar, got an absolutely beautiful Andy Tran created Tahoma field knife from Tops. You don't have to have a Tahoma field knife, but I do suggest carrying a knife that's heavy enough to do this if you need to in an emergency. Okay, so in order to baton, you want to put your knife on top. This knife happens to have a double edge here, so you're going to pretty much be hitting on the back side. If you don't have that double edge, you can put it in and hit on the front side, but either way, it's the same principle. You want to split your wood out by banging it with another stick. And you just whack it through there. It's a pretty hard piece of poplar, actually. Just keep whacking until it comes through. When you get to the end, it'll kind of split itself out. So just, there we go. Just like to do it a couple times to decrease, to get a smaller diameter here. My baton's a little short. This one's a little long though. Let's see. Okay. Well, there you go. How about that? Let's do it a couple more. Get these a little bit smaller for making a feather stick. Okay, so we've got some split out here, nice pile, and I'll show you another technique used for creating some tinder for fire is a feather stick. And what a feather stick is, it basically you take a stick and you feather it. That really makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And basically what you want to do is just carve some really fine curls off of it. You see how this thing's curling up like that? That's a really good wood. Some wood does better than others. But you just want to lightly carve really thin little curls out of it. You want to get as many as you can, because this is going to be a really good way to, this will catch a fire very easily and do a great job of really burning for you real quickly. So going to make a few of these and get back to you. As you can see, that's kind of what you're looking for. Nice fluffy curls. One of the things I'm going to be showing you today is a semi-primitive fire method. For doing that, you know, these are great. You can strike these with a ferro rod or whatever. What's really good is to be able to start fire with just an ember. Because if you can do that, you know, then you can certainly start fire with a flame, like a big lighter or whatever, which is what everybody should have. But if you can learn to do it this way, the hard way, then the easy way is obviously easier. And what you can do is just take your knife, the back of your knife or the blade of your knife, and take this poplar bark that we just found and just scrape it to get this fine stuff here. This is an exercise in patience because it's not going to happen quickly, but that's the stuff you're looking for right there. Okay, so got the makings of a tinder bundle here, and I'm a scoutmaster. Ordinarily I tell my scouts don't use pine straw, but I also tell them use what you got. So we got some a little bit of really fluffy poplar bark, not a lot, not really enough, but to make me feel happy. But I got a pretty good bit of cedar bark here. It's going to burn really good. It's good and dry and fluffy. So I want to start with the cedar bark and kind of make a base with it. Take some of this more stringy poplar bark and kind of mix it in, and kind of wrap it up with some pine straw. Take the really fluffy stuff here, put it right in the middle. Make a little nest for your egg. They call it a bird's nest for a reason. I'm going to take a piece of this other poplar bark and kind of just wrap around it to hold it in place. And I've got my really fluffy stuff right there in the middle. And that's where we're going to put the ember that we're going to get from probably a flint and steel. So I'm going to wedge this here where it'll stay together and leave it there for now and get this fire lay going. And I'll talk to you about that for a minute. So we saw some different resources you can use, natural resources to help you get started with the fire. We collected some of those. We also made some feather sticks, did a little batoning, showed you how to get into the inside of some wood when it's wet. Let me go ahead and show you real quickly. There's some basic principles of three with the fire. First of all, you need three things for a fire to take place. You need heat, you need oxygen, and you need a source, something to burn. You need fuel. So those are the three things, real important. If any one of those things is missing, you won't have a fire, period. There's another rule of threes that you need to be aware of, and basically it's three types of fuel that you need. Okay, the first thing you need is tinder. That's the really, really small stuff. It's got very little mass, so it's not going to take a lot of heat to get it to combust and to burn, basically. And you can use the bird's nest. That's also what the really, really small types of wood are for. The little bitty stuff that we looked at originally, it was like the size of a pencil lead or so. And so basically there's 3 types of. So you got the tinder. The next size up, about the size of a pencil itself, maybe, you know, size maybe of your pinky, is the kindling, and it's a little bit more mass. As your tinder gets going, you have enough heat to maybe catch the kindling. And then the last is fuel, and that's up to you know, from the size of your thumb and bigger, basically. I could start this with a match. That'd be pretty simple. I've got a Bic lighter, and I've got a ferro rod and all that. What I thought I'd do today is go ahead and show you something maybe a little bit different. Okay, so I like to keep my fire kit in a little leather pouch that I was given just because I think it's cool. No other reason. I've got in here a little char tin. What I've got in there is some char cloth, some flint, and a striker. So what I'll do is take this flint and put a piece of this char cloth, which is, I think this is just charred blue jean material. Try to find a sharp edge here. Put it right up against the edge, like so. You're going to strike with that steel till you get a spark. And sometimes you got to be patient. You got to find yourself a little sharp edge here. Usually if you lay that cloth right on top, and you got, see the spark just got on it, and we're good to go. So now, you got a minute, take the tinder bundle, and we'll put this right in the softest, fluffiest part. Poke it down just a little bit with our rock, put the rock over there, and you kind of hold it up and blow it, like so. So this turns into fire. Let it get going good. Put it underneath your bundle here. Those little sticks. And if I didn't put it out, we'll be in good shape in just a minute here. Let it go. Give it some air. And once you see the little sticks start taking like that, then you're good. It's one of the reasons I don't like using pine straw. Pine straw just doesn't necessarily hold a flame very well. But you can see we got that thing going pretty well now. Now if you just take the small, your next size up, your kindling, and just pile it on top. I think Dave Canterbury says that fire likes chaos. I think he's right. Just jumbled up kind of mess, gets plenty of oxygen in there. And as that bigger stuff catches, then you can of course start putting the bigger and bigger stuff on there. Like so. Okay, well, if you can see, this is a sustainable fire. I'm just kind of snuggling up to it to keep the skeeters away. I hope this has been helpful. We took a look at some different fire resources that you can gather naturally. A couple of different methods for coming up with some different fire. And you know what? I just realized I'm looking at the feather sticks over here. I made these pretty feather sticks and didn't even use them. So, to show you how good this stuff burns, you can see that's what's so cool about a feather stick. It just absolutely, can you see that now? It just, those things burn like just really, really good. So we'll go ahead and put that out because I don't want to start a forest fire here. But anyway, I hope this has been helpful. And I did want to point out that one of the things that's really important, as you saw, I cut away a lot, is the prep. The biggest challenge I have with teaching Boy Scouts how to build fires is they want to just go ahead and get the flame going and that's it, and they don't have their preparation done. You see, we had enough fuel to put on there right away so you can create a sustainable fire. Because if you don't, let me get out of the way of this fire a little bit. If you don't have enough fuel to start your fire and to keep it going when you're ready, you'll get a nice flame going, and then you're running around looking for fuel and your flame goes out. So the prep time, nobody wants to do that. It takes a long time sometimes, you know, scraping all that bark and crete and all that stuff. But if you can learn to do that and do a fire from kind of primitive methods, which this was flint and steel, so that's semi-primitive, you'll be able to make a fire no problem with a Bic lighter. So Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Once again, my name is Brian from Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking with me to the end. If you're still here now, then that tells me you might have a little extra time on your hands and maybe you can go check out some of these other cool channels. These guys are great guys. They are really trying to give back to the Second Amendment movement, and I think you're going to find a lot of cool stuff on their channels, from gear reviews to survival, prepping, and good old-fashioned comic relief, competitive shooting, just a whole array of outdoor type activities and things that manly men like. So check them out.